Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire podcast. This is Ashley.
And I'm Abby.
Sorry, we've been having some technical difficulties this morning. Oh.
Technology.
It'll
be the downfall of us all.
It will. The robots are going to kill us all. So, how are you, Abby?
I'm pretty good. This last week we had Thanksgiving break. So we celebrated American Thanksgiving on Thursday. And my kids didn't have school like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we had a pretty good like mini vacay, like at home, nice. A staycation.
Yeah.
But the germs followed us there through this vacation.
Oh, no. Who's got it now?
No. So my littlest, my baby, we are like 90% sure that he had like RSV for these past 2 weeks. Yeah. He got COVID on his birthday in June a couple months ago. And he was way more sick this past 2 weeks with, we think, is RSV than he was with COVID. It was really sad. But he concluded the awesome sickness of RSV with getting a double ear infection on Thanksgiving. So,
I appreciate it when they're on holidays. Like, I got COVID on Mother's Day. And so whenever they ask, like, have you ever had COVID? I'm like, yes. And I know exactly when it was.
Yes, I know. Thanks for sticking to like pertinent calendar days. I know this year we as a family were like, okay, we just want redos because I got COVID, Oakley got COVID, Colt got COVID, and my mom or grandma got COVID on Oakley's birthday and my mom's birthday because they're back to back. So that was a fun celebration for that. And then for my birthday, which was the next month after that, I got mastitis. And I had to go to the emergency room on my birthday, and that was really fun. And then for Colt's birthday, the kids were throwing up. And then for this last week for Thanksgiving, Oakley was a blob, a little limp noodle with a double ear infection. So we decided that we're just going to redo all our major celebrations. Yeah, we're just going to redo them. I said, how about this? Instead of like putting it out into the universe that we're like, oh, it's our birthday, we'll sneak up on the universe and celebrate our half birthdays as a redo for all the like crappy holiday celebrating that we were just at. We're just gonna redo it, you know?
My mom literally sent out like a mass text to the family after Thanksgiving, like, okay, who isn't sick?
Yeah.
Anyone out there?
Yeah. Our numbers are falling, my lord. I know. It was like, okay, we're done. I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out from having sick kids and being sick. We're going to go into this holiday Christmas season with our top Christmas wish on our list is no more illness. And I'm going to send it to Santa at the North Pole.
Yeah.
But how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. My husband, he is really good. I picked a good one. He actually cooks like more than I do.
He does.
And he's really good at cooking meat. That sounds really dirty, but you know what I mean. He's been in charge of the turkey for the last few years, and it was so good. And then I am like the world's pickiest eater. I don't like pies. Like I don't like the like warm and yeah, the like ooey gooey in the middle, like that just texture freaks me out. So every year I have to make myself my favorite pie, which is Oreo pie. No.
Ooh, I'll take that.
Yeah.
At least you came up with a good like substitute.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do when you're picky. You don't be a burden on others. You make it work.
Yeah, you make your own that you like. Yeah. And is actually pretty good.
Right. And it was a peppermint Oreo pie. That was so good.
Ooh, that does sound good. Oh, now I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Darn it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, better hurry and get on with this then. Okay, so...
Well, we hope everybody had an amazing holiday week.
Yes.
If you celebrate. I hope it was great. Hope you had great food and it was beautiful weather and that you guys just like ate all the pie. And if you don't like pie like Ashley, I hope you ate all the good stuff.
Yes. And you had no arguments with your family and friends.
I gotta say, me and my husband did have a little
Did you have
disagreement
a
on
spat? A
Thanksgiving.
spatula
Huh?
spat? Did you have a spat?
Nope, no. I almost he almost had to walk home from grandma's house.
Oh,
Um
that's not that far of a walk, but
because
still.
he won Ticket to Ride the game.
How dare he?
And my lawyers were on the phone for drawing up our divorce papers. No,
Yeah, if you
no,
don't know this
he
game, it
blocked
is one of
me.
the best games ever.
I know it's so fun. We love playing it, but
It's a
he blocked
commitment,
me.
but yeah.
He
And it
blocked
will
me
cause
with
marital distress.
yes. He blocked me with
So he blocked you.
two trains, just two little bitty trains. He blocked me, and I could not finish the game. Like I was done.
You
I
were
had to
literally
like
stuck.
sit out.
Yeah.
I was so I like had to go like sit on the couch.
Okay, but here's the question. Was it done literally to sabotage you, or was it literally in his route? Because that's
It
the
wasn't
question.
his route. It wasn't his
Okay.
route, but it was because he chose like I'm just gonna go the shorter route, like the shortest route, and I was
Well,
like, so for
that's
me
one
to go to the
strategy.
exact same place, I had to use I think it was like 11 train cars to
Oh,
get to
yeah.
where I needed to, compared to the
Mm-hmm.
two that I could have used.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
my god! Don't
hilarious.
even get me started.
Uh,
Don't even flames on the
on
side
the
of my
side of
face.
my face, heaving.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I have an uncle who will remain nameless who gets really aggressive during that game, and he literally got in a fight with his wife and was like, "Can't you see what I'm trying to do here?" Like,
I'm trying to make my routes. I need my trains. The people
um,
need to go to their destinations.
Okay, so if you don't know what this game is, so it's called Ticket to Ride, and they have all these different versions of it. They have like a Europe version, they have it like America, and you like have to go to all these destinations um, using these different routes and train things. But I want to put this out in the universe because I want to play this game so badly. There needs to be a Disney version.
To go to the different
Disneyland?
like
Yeah,
parks or
yeah.
a
No,
Disney
we're
World would be
Disneyland. Like,
better.
okay, well, maybe that'd be the like the varsity version. I'm talking JV
Expanded
here
version.
still. Yeah. Expanded, yeah. So like I want to say like, okay, you're in Tomorrowland, but you have fast passes in Galaxy's Edge. What's the quickest way to go there? You know, like
Yeah, you have to make it to Indiana Jones before it breaks down. Please,
yeah.
let's go.
I want to play that game so badly.
That would be
Okay,
really fun.
sorry. That would be really fun.
Anyway, so that was
Putting it
our
out in the
only dispute on
universe.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's yeah, there could be worse.
Yeah.
Colt, you're on my list.
Yes.
Okay. So, anyways, last week.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm
Do
excited
you remember
for.
what we
So
talked about
there
last week?
was, it kind of got back more into like the original plot. I feel
Yeah.
this last episode, where, um, oh, what is his name? I feel so bad. It starts with an F, probably.
And probably has a
Finn.
fin.
Finn.
He was
Finn.
golfing.
Oh yes, Finn Golfin.
Finn was golfing.
Finn is Galadriel's dad,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
So Finn Golfin, the one who went over the hell cracks and the icy snow, right?
Yes.
With this
That
with
just
his
wanted Fëanor's
company.
love.
He settled in Middle Earth and kind of like a more northern region, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
he always was like kind of in the back of his head, like, hey, it shouldn't be like, yes, it's peaceful. Yes, we're having years of peace and all this stuff, but I feel like Morgoth isn't gone and he's like gonna come and get us or hurt us or destroy everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
He
he
up to no
tried to,
good.
yeah, he tried to rally other elves and I think men too, right? Like he tried
Yes.
to say like, hey, like we can't forget about this guy. I know that you guys are thinking everything's okay and there hasn't been any problems recently, but he's still around. Like he's still we didn't no one defeated him. He's still there. He's just like hiding out in his little castle house up there in the cold.
His little house. He's like in a
Yeah, his little
cottage.
house. Yeah, he's just
Oh, that's
knitting.
a funny image.
Um, but no one really helped. No one really like believed him, or like they kind of. I feel like they would like laugh it off. Like, come on, man, we're doing fine.
Yeah.
Everything's doing okay, and we're not having any problems, and there's no monstrosities like happening. And so he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And so he went. Well, did they fight before?
So,
Okay. In my timeline, I'm getting mixed up. Did
yes, you
he,
are.
did Morgoth do that
Morgoth
whole
struck
like,
first.
huh?
Morgoth struck first.
Yeah, so
Fingolfin wanted to
Morgoth,
strike before anything happened.
but
No one believed
Morgoth,
him except for Angrod and Aegnor, who were also like nearby Morgoth.
who are sons
But
of Fëanor.
Finarfin.
Oh,
Finarfin.
Finarfin? Finarfin.
Yeah.
So Morgoth did a fire hurricane. For some
Yes.
reason, he can do that. Like,
Yes. But it
sure.
uses up all of his magic. His
Yes.
magic meter is gone. He needs more.
Yes, it
He needs more
drained.
green potion.
Yes. He burned like the land between his land and where like the elves and men were settled. There was like kind of empty land.
Yeah, it's called Ardgallen, and it's
And
just north of Angrod and Aegnor's territory.
the most epic scene in my head is this wall of fire, like lava fire, comes out, burns everything, burns up to the like borderlands where there were elves that died. They got
Yes.
barbecued a little bit,
Yeah.
a little crispy.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that wall of fire, in like the smoke and ash and stuff, is a freaking dragon who
Yes.
like comes out, and he's like the head of the army, and then there's Balrogs, and then
Mm-hmm.
orcs.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Like,
Just
whoa.
through the
I can just
cloud.
see I can just see the heavy metal album cover of this right
Yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Um
So vote now. Entrance song for this. So you have the fire hurricane, and then just slowly you just hear like the pounding, kind of like the Jurassic Park, like thud,
oh
thud,
my
thud
gosh.
of Glaurung, and then the Balrogs,
Yeah.
and then the orcs are like, I don't know what the orcs do,
Oh no,
but so
that creepy um like in Moria where they're like doom doom, but they're like ee, like that
yeah,
like high pitched kind of noise in the background, like all the orcs
yes,
and goblins, that noise.
yes.
Oh
Okay,
my
so then their
gosh.
entrance song is what?
Yes.
What's their entrance
Yes.
song?
Um
Here I
I feel like
am.
oh man, now I gotta think. Okay, I'll think about it throughout the podcast, and at the end
Dun
I'll
dun
figure it
dun
out.
dun 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 dun. Sorry.
Um
Okay. So that all happened.
so that all
Everyone
happened.
fled.
Yes. And then they just started like having battles and war, and they kept trying to like move down south, like
Mm-hmm.
through the lands of elves and men kind of
Mm-hmm.
situation. And but they kind of spread themselves too thin, I feel.
Yeah.
Like they kind of spread out too much where it wasn't like decimating everything. It was kind of like they had
It was somewhat even
yeah,
playing
like it
field.
was like not like a total overrun, It was
Yeah.
like they got pushed back too, and
Yeah,
anyway,
because
so that
Fingolfin managed
happened.
to fight them off of his land. Same with Fingon. Turgon is off just with his, ears or his fingers in his ears, like, I don't hear anything. Nothing is
La la
happening.
la la la. Everything's
uh,
okay. It's a great
Finrod,
day.
Finrod Felagund, he almost died, but he was saved by an alliance that he had with the House of Baywar, and a man by the name of Barahir saved him, and
Which I
so
feel like helps fuel the, hey, men and elves can be friends. You know what I mean?
right, yeah,
They are, one's not, towering over the other in terms of
yeah,
superiority of, I'm better than you, you know, all that
yeah, for
stuff.
sure. And
Um,
then we found out
but,
that Finrod gave Barahir a super cool ring that for
oh
some
yeah.
reason has serpents. And if anyone figures out that mystery, why Finrod has a serpent ring, is he secretly
Yes.
a Slytherin? We thought he was
Yeah.
a Hufflepuff.
Uh, or
And the ring would,
maybe, or maybe, yeah, because I don't see snakes, you
yeah,
know, around in Middle Earth.
no, no. And green, too. Green emeralds.
Yeah.
Slytherin.
Hmm.
Okay. Finrod, what are you doing?
But that
Uh,
later becomes
oh my
Aragorn's
gosh, and he
ring.
literally has a chamber of secrets. But anyways, so we find out this super cool ring would later, way down the line, be passed to Aragorn.
Yes.
Um, Angrod and Agnor unfortunately died because they were literally in the line of fire. Maedhros managed to scare off the orcs with the trauma of his face. Um,
Oh.
and Maglor didn't quite fend off the orcs as well as he maybe could have, and joined up with Maedhros on his hill, but that led the orcs to go further south to Currifin and Celegorm and Caranthier, and yeah. So Currifin and Celegorm had to retreat all the way to Nargothrond to hide out with Finrod Felagund. Caranthier, Amrod, and Amras actually joined up with the Green Elves and kept the elves from going further south.
You
Thingol
mean the
and
orcs?
Melian, yeah, kept the orcs out of going further south. What did I say?
The
Elves.
elves.
My bad. My bad. Thingol and Melian took in a lot of the Cinder elves behind the girdle of Melian, but they weren't really involved in the fighting. Um, and then
So, okay.
and then
So,
we have our
they
epic
they
scene with
fled,
Fingolfin.
yeah, they fled all these way, and then Fingolfin's like, I'm not gonna stand for this, for Morgoth anymore, like torturing us and scaring us and making our lives miserable. And so he left without anybody knowing. I don't think that's right. I don't think he left without anybody knowing. I think he was just like, I'm going. And they're like, well, good luck. Like,
So in the
I
books,
don't,
it's more like he was just like had this like face of rage, and like they said his eyes looked like they shined like the Valar. So they were just more like, oh no. They were just all kind of
like,
amazed, like, step back, he's gonna explode or something.
yeah, yeah. So he went up and he knocked on Morgoth's gates and said,
Housekeeping!
yeah, and said, um, you better get out here right now, you coward, hiding in your uh, castle and letting everybody else fight for you. Come out here and fight me like a man.
Yeah.
And Morgoth actually answered, and he went out there,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the most epic fight scene, but just between
Mm-hmm.
Morgoth and Fingolfin. There was no other like army of anything, just the two of them fighting off. Like, I think Morgoth had a hammer,
Yeah,
and
and it's
then,
literally called Grond, like in Return of the King with the battering ram.
yeah,
Grond.
so he had a giant hammer, and I'm assuming that he's like a little bit bigger than an elf, like taller and like,
Yeah, all the pictures show him as like this giant.
yeah,
So you have this like gigantic black tower versus like a small But in the pictures, it looks so cool because he's like glowing. He's got this like radiance about him. So it's like this
Yes, he has like
dazzling white
glowing
and blue
silver
star.
armor.
Yeah.
He has like glowing silver armor, his crystal
On a
shield,
shield.
and
Yeah.
an ice sword that
Mm-hmm.
glows. And Morgoth's in like black armor, which I think is so cool. And
Mm-hmm.
they fight, and Fingolfin is like not killed instantly. He's like does an okay job for being an elf against Morgoth.
Mm-hmm.
Um and he like hurts his leg or something. Like and
So,
then
yeah.
an eagle comes down and
So Fingolfin managed to he stands for he lasts for a while, but eventually he gets too tired. Morgoth gets him with the hammer, or he trips in a crater made by the hammer. Morgoth like is literally standing on his chest with one of his feet. Fingolfin stabs the foot with his last breath and dies. Then Morgoth is gonna go, like throw his body to his dogs or whatever, and the eagle Thorondor uh, is like, "Hex, no, that's not happening to my buddy," and he scratches up Morgoth's face and takes Fingolfin's body to Fingolfin's son Turgon, who buried it in a cairn on a mountaintop near Gondolin.
so I would have to assume that Morgoth is huge
Yeah,
because if a giant eagle scratches up his face, I'm thinking of like when I see the movies of like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings where they're being carried by an eagle.
right.
Like one claw is as big or bigger than their whole head. So like
Well, you
it
remember Thorondor, his wingspan was as big as the Disney World castle.
yeah. So I'm
Yeah,
saying Morgoth has to be big if he's scratching his face. Like, try to imagine a giant eagle like trying to scratch like a hobbit's face. Like, it's
right.
like
Yeah,
such a small area of like trying
yeah,
to attack. So I'm assuming that Morgoth is huge and like
yeah, yeah.
that that
Well,
makes it
in some,
the fight even more epic and
yeah.
also terrifying.
Well, remember in the very, very beginning, so Morgoth, remember, is one of the Valar, and he was literally described as a mountain.
Yeah. I
So
mean, even
he'd be
Sauron, when we
big.
see him in the beginning of Lord of the Rings, is like
Yeah,
towering over
yeah.
everybody. Like
Mm-hmm.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I think they have
Another
the
thing,
ability to make themselves bigger and smaller and
yeah.
whatever.
Well, they can change their image, yeah. But another thing I was thinking too. So if you're lying on the ground and if you grew up with siblings, you know exactly this scenario, and someone's stepping on your chest.
Oh,
Sorry, I had four older brothers. There was a lot of rough housing in our house growing up. So someone's like literally has their foot on your chest. Imagine you have this sword. If they're just like the same size as you, you're more likely to stab yourself than this
I know,
little foot
right?
that's on you. So it'd have to be like a huge foot to be able to like do any damage.
Mm.
But because Fingolfin stabbed him with his cool ice sword, Morgoth walked forever with a limp and scars all over his face, thanks to our buddy Thorondor.
Which I'm guessing just added to his more villain look.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So that's where we left things last week. Very R.I.P. Fingolfin. Moment of silence.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. So now that Fingolfin has met his tragic end, Fingon, his son, is now the Lord of the House of Fingolfin and King of the Noldor. Now,
Okay.
with everything that's happened, Morgoth's sudden attack, his father dying, all of his cousins dying, Aegnor and Angrod had died, a lot of his friends and allies had died in this battle. Fingon's like, you know what? I need to keep safe what I can. So he decides to send his young son, It doesn't say how old he is necessarily, but just that he's young, to the far western coast, to an area known as the Havens, to live in safety with our buddy Círdan, who is Lord of the Falas. Remember, they're like the sea folk that like to live by the coast and have their ships and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this son's name is Gil-galad.
Wasn't he in the
Yes.
show?
Yes. So kind of cool to think that he was raised in essentially by a not his father.
Oh, there's
But
a lot of that in these books, actually.
yeah, a lot of foster parenting.
Yeah, healthy foster parenting.
Yeah. Well, some aren't, but we'll find that out later. So
Cool.
since Fingolfin, Ingrod, and Aegnor are all gone, Morgoth is now dominating much of the north. However, if you remember our friend Barahir of the House of Beor, he was the one who saved Finrod, received, his oath of friendship and the cool serpent ring. Well, he is now defending Aegnor and Ingrod's former lands. And, he is just giving it his all. He will not retreat. Quote, contesting the land foot by foot with his enemies.
Okay.
Morgoth sees this struggle and decides, you know what? Time to get to the next level. So he decides to send his armies to specifically hunt down Barahir and all of his people. Quote, to the death until few remained. So
intense.
This area, yes. So this area, which was formerly Ardgallen, that it was a pleasant green flat valley, and this kind of also extends a bit into an area called Dorthonion, that had just received the fire from the Battle of Sudden Flame. This area, quote, turned little by little into a region of such dread and dark enchantment that even the orcs would not enter it unless need drove them. It was called the Forest Under Nightshade. The trees that grew there after the burning were black and grim, and their roots were tangled, groping in the dark like claws. And those who strayed among them became lost and blind and were strangled or pursued to madness by phantoms of terror.
Huh? Dang.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Snow White when she's going through the forest and she's like, ah! And then the trees are all scary.
Yes. But there is no cottage of dwarfs in this one. Just pure terror.
Has anyone looked? There's no cottage of dwarves.
Yeah, these guys looked because unfortunately, Barahir and his people, this is the land that they're fighting so hard for, which, why?
Cut your losses, dude.
Yeah. And this is where they are running for their lives from Morgoth and his servants. And things get so bad that they decide to gather all the women and children together. And here, Barahir's wife, whose name is Emeldir, and she has a cool nickname, the Man-Hearted. Get it, girl. She really would have preferred to fight alongside her husband. She's like, okay, I guess I'll take the women and children and lead them to safety. Mm-hmm. And she leads the women and children through, unfortunately, very treacherous paths through the mountains. But at last... Éowyn, yes. But, quote, they came at last with loss and misery to Brethel. Sound familiar?
Brethel?
Not too long ago, this is where Haleth and her people, the Halidin, lived.
Okay.
So some of the women and children of Barahir's house stayed here with the Halidin. Others kept going west over the mountains to Fingon's territory called Dorlomin to join with the people of Galdor, who was Hador's son of the House of Hador, obviously.
Okay, I'm sorry, but
So everyone's
Hador
getting kind of
just
stressed out.
yeah,
Hodor,
Hador just means like
every time.
Hodor.
Every time I read Hodor. Every time. So Barahir and the men that happened to stay behind with him in the pleasant forest under nightshade.
Mm-hmm. Gorgeous this time
Unfortunately,
of year.
gorgeous this time of year. Unfortunately, they were never seen again.
Well, I wonder why.
Quote, for these were slain one by one, until at last only 12 men remained to Barahir.
Ugh. Was it like the situation where you see in movies sometimes where they're like walking through like a jungle or some
And people, oh, like in the mummy, the second mummy, and the people just get like snatched.
yes, when they're like walking
Yes.
and they're like suddenly there's like whoop and then they're gone.
Yep.
And then they turn
Yes.
around and they're like, ah.
So these 12 men would later be known as the Outlaws. And I'm not going to name all of them because there's 12 of them, but I'm just going to name a few. So one is Barahir's son, whose name is Baron, very important later. Two of Barahir's nephews are in this. Uh, remember Bregolis? Bregolis. These
No,
are
it's
his sons.
Gregolas.
It's Gregolis. So two of Bregolis's sons are in this outlaw group. And also,
Okay. And
I'm
these are all
sorry,
men, right?
these
These
are
are
all
like
men.
mortal
Yes.
men.
Yes. And I'm sorry, I have to name one of them just because his name just makes me laugh. Gorlim the Unhappy.
Oh no.
Like,
He's
it's going through this list, and then, like, there's Baron, we've got Barragan, we got Belligan, then we've got Gorlim the Unhappy. Like,
he's the emo. He's got the like hair over one eye. Like
so that's not the seven dwarves, it's the 12 outlaws, and this is Grumpy.
yeah. No, he's the emo kid. The like goth
Yeah.
emo sad one.
So these men would be known as, quote, outlaws without hope, a desperate band that could not escape and would not yield. For their dwellings were destroyed, and their wives and children captured, slain, or fled.
Oh,
Barahir and his men were hunted like wild beasts, and they retreated and wandered furthest from the spies and spells of Morgoth. Their bed was the heather, and their roof the cloudy sky.
uh so they're all the unhappy now, I guess.
Yes. So it's been 2 years since the Battle of Sudden Flame started. And unfortunately, it's still going. The Noldor are fighting in the west, and in one area in particular, the fighting is about to get intense.
Dang.
So,
After 2 years, do you think they have
what?
any energy for it to get intense?
Oh, it about to be intense.
Ugh.
So a while ago, we talked about a place called Minas Tirith, which isn't the Gondor Minas Tirith. It's a tower that Finrod had built, and it guards one of the main rivers in Beleriand called the Sirion. And after Finrod built his summer home of Nargothrond, he handed it down to his brother Orodreth. So Orodreth is in charge of this tower at Minas Tirith, and because Ulmo seems to be the only one that cares about men, and because it was near the river, he actually kind of helped Orodreth, not sure how, fight off the orcs in this area. But then,
What if it was cool like the horses that Arwen
yes, that would
makes
be really
happen?
cool. That would be pretty cool. But then Sauron shows up.
Oh no. Not
No,
that guy.
yeah, but
What's
not
he
gonna
been
lie,
doing this whole
Abby.
time?
He's a general. He's been fighting out there, but
Mm.
oh my gosh. Okay. Quote: Sauron, greatest and most terrible of the servants of Morgoth, was become now a sorcerer of dreadful power, master of shadows and of phantoms, foul in wisdom, cruel in strength, misshaping what he touched, twisting what he rules, lord of werewolves. His dominion was torment.
What?
Yes.
Oh,
Quote, he took Minas Tirith by assault, for a dark cloud of fear fell upon those that defended it, and Orodreth was driven out and fled to Nargothrond. Then Sauron made it into a watchtower for Morgoth, a stronghold of evil and a menace, and the fair isle of Tol Sirion, where this tower was, became accursed, and it was called the Isle of Werewolves.
what?
Yeah. Did you know there were werewolves in the Silmarillion?
No. That's amazing.
Yes.
And there's an island of them.
Yes. Like the island of misfit toys.
If you haven't guessed, werewolves
Island
are my
of
favorite.
werewolves.
Are my favorite monster or crypto.
Oh yeah, cryptozoology or whatever.
Yeah, cryptid. That's what they're called.
Oh yeah.
Werewolves are my favorite.
Yes.
But I'm assuming, is it like Beorn?
Werewolves? It doesn't unfortunately describe them, at least not right now. There's a bit of a description later on, but Tolkien just kind of drops this bomb and's like, take of it what you will.
I'm giving you this gift of
I'm giving you this gift. Think of it what
imagination.
Yes. So
they're definitely not going to look like, I'm sorry, they're definitely not going to look like the horrible
Warg that was in Rings of Power. Oh, or that, yeah.
No.
Yeah, those are pretty horrible.
Yeah. Sorry if this audio seems a little bit weirdly cut. It is in like editing. It is because in the middle of our awesome werewolf conversation, our podcasting recording, what is it? Equipment program decided to say no. I don't like this conversation.
You don't get to talk anymore.
It just kicked us out of recording. So we're coming back the second part of this recording. So I apologize. I don't know how well it's gonna like edit to like what we were talking about before. So
Podcastle, you will
just
be
know that we had some technical difficulties, but we're back. We're here.
Yeah.
We don't let technology rule us. We can conquer and you know, we're gonna finish this podcast, darn it.
Heck yes we are.
So we were talking about werewolves, that Sauron had an army of werewolf buddies and he made them their own little island. I mean, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice of him.
So from this tower, which was called Minas Tirith, Sauron could keep an eye can't help it, on everything that was happening in the West.
Okay.
So Morgoth pretty much has most of Thingol old territory, pretty much all of Angrod and Agnor's old territory, except for those pesky outlaws that he's trying to hunt down. And now this tower, which gives Morgoth a pretty good stronghold on West Beleriand.
So I have a Lord of the Rings Risk game upstairs.
Yes.
And I feel like that's what's happening right now.
Very much so, yeah. We don't really visit Maedhros or, East Beleriand for quite a while, so I have no idea what's happening there right now. But we're in West
They're just partying. They're like, yeah, things are great over here. Nothing going on. We're defeating everybody that's around us. That's totally fine. Unaware of all the werewolves.
And meanwhile, everyone else that was left in West Beleriand were being pursued relentlessly. Quote, and he searched out their hiding places and took their strongholds one by one.
He's pretty efficient.
Yes. And, quote, many of the Noldor and the Sindar they took captive and led to Angband and made them thralls, forcing them to use their skill and their knowledge in the service of Morgoth. And Morgoth sent out his spies, and they were clad in false forms, and deceit was in their speech. They made lying promises of reward, and with cunning words sought to arouse fear and jealousy among the people, accusing their kings and chieftains of greed and of treachery one to another.
Wow. That's such an interesting play. Like an
Mm-hmm.
interesting like addition to war to add to like his army. I never
Right.
really thought about that. But I think it like in my head it's both like the traveling like snake oil salesmen that are like, "Hey buddy pal, has your back been hurting forever? I've got the potion for you." Um and also like people who like wander into like bars or whatever and then they kind of just like, hey, that guy said you guys are pretty pathetic and weak in this part of town and that
Mm-hmm.
your leader is stealing stuff from you, and he's like, wait, who said that? And then he's gone, and then
Yeah.
they don't know who said it, and then they just think it's everybody else, and then they start fighting amongst each other.
Oh, yeah.
House
That is
divided, right?
right. That's Morgoth's jam. This lies and deceit is like his mastercraft. And it actually works better than you might think. Propaganda,
Sadly.
yeah, propaganda, as we learned sadly from World War II, is a very dangerous tool, especially when morale is low.
And
And
especially false information. You know what I mean? Like how
yes,
quickly that can spread. And then it
mm-hmm,
turns into truth, but like
yeah,
in the sense of like people think it's true because they've heard it from like 20 people, like,
right, yeah,
no.
yeah.
So
So it's very dangerous, and especially when morale is low and things.
the
Morale
mob
is pretty
mentality.
low right now. Mob
Yeah.
mentality, yeah. Mob, 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 mob.
Oh my gosh, Luna asks for that song all the time.
It's so catchy.
Well, it's like a 90s like Offspring knockoff
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
So that's why I like it. I
We're
agree with
referring
you.
to, for people who don't have children from the ages of like, I don't know,
4
two
to
to,
8.
yeah. The song I was just singing is from the My Little Pony movie,
Yeah. The newest one.
the newest one.
Where there's
And
an
there's literally a
angry
part.
mob, mob,
Yeah.
mob, 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 mob,
Mob,
angry,
mob,
angry.
angry, angry. It's actually a really good analogy of how mob mentality works. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
It's true. It's true. We should just post
Plus,
that for on our
oh,
Instagram.
I
This is
used to
what it
I
is.
posted it before. Also with the scene from Mean Girls when Regina George is like posting all the copies of the burn books pages and like spreading them
Oh my
around and then just like
gosh.
watching the chaos. Yeah, that's one of my
Oh
favorite
my
scenes, and
gosh.
it's such a good analogy of what's happening.
That's hilarious. Morgoth's Regina George.
Yes. So, and it's not very hard to use propaganda against the Noldor because, I mean, they already have a pretty big history of backstabbing and treachery. I mean, you got the kinslaying in Aqualande, you
It
got the
wasn't
burning of the
too far
ships.
of a push, like he
Yeah,
didn't have to push them that hard. They were
yeah,
kind of already on edge.
yeah. So,
He
treachery's in the
made them
air.
vulnerable enough to be
Yes.
susceptible to it.
He knew exactly where to hit them. And, treachery's in the air. The Noldor are already worried about their own kin turning on them. And especially the ones taken in Angband, these thralls. That's literally what they're called.
Oh, that sounds
Quote,
sad.
I know, quote, for Morgoth used some of these for his evil purposes, and feigning to give them liberty, sent them abroad, but their wills were chained to his, and they strayed only to come back to him again. Therefore, if any of his captives escaped in truth and returned to their own people, they had little welcome and wandered alone, outlawed and desperate.
Oh, that's so
That's,
sad.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, I understand it from like a practicality. Like, you're just gonna turn on us and like, sell us to Morgoth. But like, no, guys, believe me. No.
Slam door.
Slam
Doesn't
door.
come in. They
So
wander
sad.
alone.
Yeah. Might as well go back to Morgoth. At least, at least he gave me a home in Angband.
Yeah.
Morgoth,
Uh,
he treated Morgoth treated men a bit differently. Instead of turning them into thralls, he would pretend to pity them, offering them rewards, honors, and forgiveness if they agreed to just stop fighting with an Noldor and you'll be forgiven. Most of the Aedine didn't take him up on this offer, though. Not even under torture in Angband. So Morgoth has to go back to the drawing board, and he decides to change things up, and he sends his messengers to the men across the mountains. Remember, that's where the men came from, and some had stayed there, some had gone from Beleriand and back to the mountains, but these men kind of have a weird cloud of mystery, darkness, because when Morgoth first found them, when the men first arrived in Middle Earth, they kind of had this unspoken dealing with Morgoth that doesn't really go into detail, but then Morgoth left his servants behind, and so it's this kind of like mystery of they're evil, I think.
they're
I
not
think
great. Like, they're
yeah.
not upstanding citizens.
Yeah.
Is that where, like, in the Lord of the Rings series, books and movies, where they're like the men from the east?
Yes. Actually, I was
Or
just about to get to that.
like
So,
the like scary
the
guys?
Easterlings. Yes. These are known as the Easterlings. So, this is where we meet a new group of men. And at first, they are labeled as I'm sorry, this word just makes me laugh. The swarthy men.
Ooh.
I know. So they're called that
They're
at first,
quite
but they're
swarthy.
but later they're just kind of lumped in as Easterlings. And I
What
found
does that word mean? How do you spell that?
okay, yeah. So swarthy, Swarthy. So, and I
Swarthy.
found a Google definition
Swarthy.
that describes the word pretty well. So, swarthy does mean dark skinned, but not everyone with dark skin is swarthy, though. The word is usually described as someone whose skin is weather beaten or darkened by the sun or has an olive complexion.
So I'm thinking like,
First thing I thought of was a
like,
pirate.
yeah, like a pirate or like
Yeah.
somebody
Or like
like,
a cowboy or just
yeah, like very
just,
leathery, like
yeah.
just a lot of wear and tear, kind of like
Yeah. In the
lives
art that I've
outdoors.
seen, they look kind of like a combination of like the Australian Aborigines or
Mm.
like the Native Americans. Just like this kind of
Or
like
like um people who live in like an Asian desert area.
yeah, yeah, that too. Oh my gosh, the pictures of the National Geographic pictures of like the wrinkles.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The
My
like
my abuela,
adorable little old women with like
my great
thousands of
abuela,
wrinkles.
like
Yes.
Mama Coco.
Like Mama Coco. Oh gosh. Okay, so most of these swarthy men were secretly under Morgoth's control, even from across the mountains, and, quote, came at his call.
Hmm.
He's heard his master's call.
Hmm.
However, some of them, apparently there were some who weren't under this call. They weren't under quite Morgoth's control. Maybe they were just guilty by association kind of a thing. They just were kind of lumped in
They were
as this
just
group.
around at the
Yeah,
wrong time.
yeah. So some of them didn't take, but they still didn't take much prompting to come to Beleriand. They had heard rumors about it and just wanted to see it for themselves. But these swarthy men, swarthy, I
Swarthy.
can't, they're described as, quote, short and broad, long and strong in the arm. Their skins were swart or sallow, and their hair was dark as were their eyes.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
we are going to visit Maedhros here for a second. He sees this new group of men coming because remember, Maedhros is kind of on the eastern border by the mountains. So Maedhros sees these men coming, and he's like, they could probably side with the enemy. The enemy doesn't need any more help. We really need help. So he decides to make an alliance with these swarthy men. And, quote, he gave him his friendship. And
he made them all friendship bracelets.
Yes. And the two guys that got the best friendship bracelets, the one that says BFF, were their two
and
greatest chieftains.
Beads that were really cool.
Yes. One had like a sharp tooth. It was really cool. Arrowhead.
Glow in the dark beads.
Oh my gosh, the glow in the dark beads. So their two greatest chieftains were named. Sorry, I can't take these names seriously. Bor, Bor.
Okay.
And Ulfang, Ulfang.
Ulfang? That sounds like a werewolf name.
Uh-huh.
They both sound like werewolf names.
Uh-huh. Unfortunately, this friendship is exactly what Morgoth wants because these men were secretly his servants. But we're going to learn more about that story later.
Yes, be friends.
Yeah. So we're going to continue that story later, but
it's like that TikTok sound. I think it's from SpongeBob. And he's like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being so dumb.
Yeah.
It's like you played exactly into my plan.
Mm-hmm. So, in other news, our elf friends, the Edain, the three houses of men, they've all been affected by this ongoing war. The House of Hador, they were still fighting in Fingolfin's former territory of Hithlum. And unfortunately, because of the terrain and the orc army, they were completely cut off from everyone else.
Oh no.
The House of Beor was, quote, well nigh destroyed. I can't say well nigh any other way. I'm sorry.
Well what?
Well nigh. Like they were very close to being destroyed.
Well nigh destroyed.
Exactly. See, you can't say it any other way either. And with the last of their fighting men,
well nigh destroyed.
We'll not even talk about outlaws.
Yeah, by them
the last of their
outlaws.
The last of their fighting men were running for their lives as outlaws, and their women and children were safe but scattered among other houses of men. And the people of Haleth, they were safe for a while, but eventually the orcs did make their way to their lands in the forest of Brethil. But the people of Haleth were fighting back. Quote, for they were stout-hearted men and would not lightly forsake the woods that they loved.
Yeah.
For the trees!
Yeah.
The people of Haleth...
like, come together, men! We can do this!
The people of Haleth, unfortunately, did have their share of defeats, but they had their moments of honor, too. After Sauron... Mm-hmm. After Sauron took Minas Tirith, the orcs had a new stronghold and would have made their way further westward if it weren't for the axe of a certain man named Halmir, who was lord of the Halidin.
Halmir?
Halmir.
Okay.
Halmir. This is, I think, his one-time mention, so not important. So
you gotta give him his due credit.
I do, especially because he did this cool move here. Let's see in a second. So, if you remember, when Haleth originally settled in the Forest of Brethil, it technically was like a teensy bit on Thingol's land, but they managed to come to an arrangement allowing the Halidin to live there as long as they guarded their border. Well, in the years since this arrangement, Halmir had become pretty good friends with the elves of Thingol's realm, who guarded the other border, basically what guarded them from the Halidin. So, like, they were the outer defense, and they were, like, then Thingol's elves were, like, the inner defense, if that makes any sense.
So they put the...
Halidin in front of...
Yeah, they put the disposable, like
Yes. Yes.
very killable
Yes.
men in the front, and then they're like, "You got
It's
this? You good? Okay, we'll be back here
literally
if you
like
need."
pawns.
Like, yeah, if you need us, let us know. Shout, holler,
Yep.
whatever. Scream in pain. We'll be back here.
So Halmir is friends with these elves who guarded the border. And when Halmir knew the orcs were making their way to them, he sent word to his buddies. And this is when we first meet a new character that will be important later. So just remember his name. But he is the chief.
I feel like I should have a notebook that's labeled characters that are important later. Do not forget.
Yes.
Because I feel
Yes.
like you've said that a lot. And there's a
I
lot
know.
of different ones.
I know. Well, it's because the elves, like, they get their first mention, and then, like, 500 years later, then they become important.
Oh, they had to wait. Be
Yep.
patient.
So,
Okay.
this new character, he is the chief march warden of Doriath, which is Thingol's territory. He is a Sindar elf by the name of Beleg Strongbow. Beleg. Beleg. Beleg.
Ooh.
Beleg. Beleg.
Beleg. Beleg.
So this awesome guy brings his other Sindar elf friends with him to the forest of Brethel. And armed with axes, they take the orc army by surprise and completely obliterate them.
Dang, I want to see an elf with an axe. You don't see an elf
Right?
with an axe very often.
Right? And this completely scared off the orcs so badly that the, quote, black tide out of the north was stemmed in that region.
Huh. They're pretty good with those axes then.
Oh, yeah. So this gave the Forest of Brethel and its nearby kingdom of Nargothrond, which is Finrod Felagund's kingdom, where some of our other main characters are hiding, some much-needed time for some peace and to regain their strength. Now we're going to go on a new story here. That's kind of, okay, leaving things there. In other news, like...
Yes.
Balerian's a big place here.
Yeah.
So, long side story, very short. Before this crazy battle of sudden flames started, there were two brothers of the House of Hador that were sent to live in the Forest of Brethel with their uncle on their mother's side, by the name of Haldir of the Halidin. These brothers were named Hurin and Huor. And I'm sorry, I can't say his name any other way. Huor.
Huor. Here.
It's Huor.
Huor.
Yeah. But it just sounds like we're saying whore.
Huor.
So, just to clarify, these brothers are of the House of Hador, who are all up north in Hithlum fighting for Fingolfin's old territory. But due to a very long story that I didn't want to get into and weird family circumstances, they're living with their mother's people, the people of Haleth, in the Forest of Brethel.
Okay.
So, these two brothers living in the Forest of Brethel when the war started. And even though the youngest brother, Huor, was only 13 years old, they immediately joined the fight. So they're fighting, and they are with this company that gets cut off from the rest of the army. And they get pushed back as far as this ford on the Syrian River called the Ford of Brithiac. And they are just being pushed back, and Hurin and Huor would have been killed or taken captive if it weren't for the only Valar who cares about the men in the house. Ulmo. And here we learn how Ulmo helps, how he uses his water powers to help.
Okay.
Because remember, Ulmo, he was very much a part of the Syrian River, and this Ford of Brithiac is on the Syrian River.
Okay,
so,
I'm excited.
What
does he do?
Using his water powers, he makes a mist that managed to hide the brothers from the orcs.
Okay, that's a little lame. A little letdown.
I know. But at least it gives you a practical, like, oh, okay, I guess that, yeah. Okay, I
I
guess
mean, it
that's plausible.
works.
Yeah.
He could have just like done like a super cool giant out of water and smashed all of them, but I guess mist works.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hmm. So this cloak of mist gave them, the brothers, a chance to cross the river and escape. But unfortunately, they ended up getting lost in the hills and mountains there, which just so happened to be the outer walls of Gondolin. Because remember, Gondolin is
Ooh.
completely
But they
surrounded by
don't know it's
mountains.
there.
They don't know it's there. And of course, they couldn't just happen upon the secret entrance because it's a secret. But our eagle buddy, Thorondor, saw these poor brothers wandering around, confused, lost. He's like, I guess I'll help you. So he sent two of his eagle buddies to literally pick them up, bring them over the mountains inside the hidden city of Gondolin. Of
A
all the
new
places to take
entrance.
them.
Eagle.
Yes.
Eagle entrances.
Yes.
Eagle
And
transportation.
this makes Huor and Horin the very first men to ever see Gondolin.
Whoa.
So I had this weird, like, of all the places you take them, you couldn't have taken them to a place that they knew better, or, you had to take them to the secret city that no one's supposed to
So like
know
this
about.
seems good. That seems
Yeah.
good. Drop them off here. They don't even like land. They just was like
Yeah.
fly by and just let them fall. Good
And, like,
luck.
if I were Turgon, I'd actually be kind of pissed. Like, dude, it's a secret! Why are you dropping
Yeah.
people here?
That'd be so funny if they were just living their lives and Gondolin, like la la la, and then just out of the sky, just two kids just like fall on them, and they're like, "What the heck? What is this?"
So I
Um,
think Turgon should have been more upset, but apparently he had actually been receiving messages and dreams from Olmo, quote, warning him of woe to come and counseling him to deal kindly with the sons of the house of Hador, from whom help should come to him at need.
well, I mean, thanks Olmo, like for helping out. Like that's a good thing he did that.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I could do a lot of things, but I'm not gonna do like crazy cool water things. But at least I'll be like, hey, these guys are cool. Their names are on the list. I'm letting them in.
Yeah.
They're totally fine. I'm gonna
So
eagle drop them to you, and they'll be great.
So when Huor and Horin literally land on Turgon's doorstep, he actually welcomes them, and they actually live in Gondolin for, sorry, I can't, well, not a year.
But they're like kids. They're like
So
little,
one of them's
right?
13, and it doesn't say how old Hurin is, but I'm assuming he's just older, so like 13 and maybe like 16. Like,
Yeah, probably.
so not kids, but Uh, so Huron actually really liked Gondolin. He learned a lot about the lore of the elves, and he actually really liked Turgon. He respected him, and he learned all that he could about how Turgon acted as a king.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Turgon liked them back, taught them all he could, and really wanted them to stay. But of course, Hurin and Hur wanted to go back to their own people and help them with their battle with Morgoth.
Aw. He doesn't get to keep his tiny little human friends.
No. So Hurin tells Turgon, quote, Lord, we are but mortal men, and unlike the Eldar, they may endure for long years, awaiting battle with their enemies in some far distant day, but for us the time is short, and our hope and strength soon wither. Moreover, we did not find the road to Gondolin, and indeed we do not know surely where this city stands, for we were brought in fear and wonder by the high ways of the air, and in mercy our eyes were veiled.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't feel like it was a
loophole!
very... Yeah.
He found a loophole to Turgon's law about, whoever finds Gondolin can never leave it, because technically they never found it.
True. They were basically dropped off, airdropped.
Yeah.
I think it would be funny if they're like, well, you can't go out our secret way, so I guess the eagles have to take you back again. And then they like pick them up and just like fly them off and just literally just dump them again outside. Like, you didn't see anything.
Well, it kind of goes down like that, but not. So Turgon, although he's really sad for his new friends to leave, he does let them, saying, quote, "By the way that you came, you have leave to depart, if the Rondor is willing."
So he does take an eagle out of there.
Yep.
Okay, these eagles are not Ubers, people. They are living beings that need respect. They're not just your transportation.
That's why he's like, if he's willing. At
Yeah.
least he gave Thorondor the choice. But
Like,
remember,
oh,
we are
fine.
remember we are in Gondolin, and you might have forgotten about our other Gondolin resident, Maeglin, the dark and troubled child of Arathel and Aehol.
Aeol,
He
right?
will forever be known as that. His name is Aeol, but he's an a-hole to me. So Maeglin wasn't really sad that Horin and Hor were leaving because while
I
they were
feel
in
like he doesn't make
Gondolin,
friends.
yeah, that too. But they kind of replaced him as the king's favorite.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
Plus,
kid is getting set up to being like a murderer.
yes. Plus, he had some kind of weird, misplaced resentment that they were allowed to leave Gondolin when his dad wasn't allowed to.
um,
A
they didn't
little
like,
different.
yeah, they didn't try to murder people.
Yeah. He even says to Hurin, quote, "The king's grace is greater than you know, and the law is become less stern than aforetime, or else no choice would be given you but to abide here to your life's end."
Jeez, this kid sounds fun. This kid
He's a jerk.
sounds,
He's a jerk.
yeah, he just sounds a little bit like sketchy. A
Yeah.
little a little serial killery, a little like loner kind of not
Mm-hmm.
really a lot of friends, you know?
Yep.
I don't know. He's not my favorite character.
Nope. And it's only going to get worse for Maeglin, but anyways. So Hurin responds to Maeglin saying, quote, "The king's grace is great indeed, but if our word isn't not enough, then we will swear oaths to you." So right then and there, Hurin and Hor swore to keep Gondolin and everything they had learned and seen there a secret. Like, seriously, is that enough for you, Maeglin? Is that good enough?
Yeah. Do you want it in writing? Do you want
Blood.
yeah, swearing on my mother's grave? I don't know.
So that night, the Eagles took Horin and Hor away and dropped them off in their former home in Dorlomen with their kin, the House of Hador. Now,
Have the people ever, like, those human men, ever seen an eagle? Because that would have been, like,
what
crazy.
the?
They're just, like, screaming and running around their village. It's cool,
Well,
guys.
it doesn't say, but they were happy to see Hurin and Hor because, while they've been gone, messengers from Brethel had told them that they were lost in battle. So when they arrived, their father's like, "Oh, thank goodness you're okay."
Yeah.
So their father's name is Galdor. And when he asks where they've been all this time, all they would say is, they were lost in the wilderness, eagles rescued them, and then brought them home to Dorlomen. But their father is like, I'm seeing some holes in this story.
You have
Quote,
really cool clothes on. You look
yeah,
like you've showered. You look like you
seriously.
haven't been
So,
starving.
oh my gosh. Quote, did you then dwell a year in the wild, or did the eagles house you in their eyries? But you found food and fine raiment and return as young princes, not waifs of the woods.
Yeah.
You called it.
Your dad isn't stupid. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we've been lost in the forest and we made some pretty cool clothes
Yeah.
and we,
We're right
happened
next to
to,
this restaurant.
yeah, we happen to just like feast almost every day. Like, no.
Yeah.
That's a
Like,
pretty
seriously,
bad
come up with a
lie.
better story, Hurin.
That's a child's lie for sure.
For sure. But all that Hurin replied was, quote, "Be content that we have returned, for only under an oath of silence was this permitted."
Wow. He's
So
sticking to
this,
it. He's a good
yeah,
guy. He's pretty
yeah.
loyal.
So Galdor, the father, just, okay, that's fine. Yeah, but, many of the others and his father kind of somehow guessed at the truth. And over time, this guess would reach Morgoth's ears.
So, do people know that Gondolin exists, but they just don't know where it is?
I think so, but I mean, yeah, it's very vague.
Okay.
So now Turgon, I'm sure he was hearing all these, stories from Hurin and Hor about the war and the battles and everything. Olmo's been telling him stuff, and probably Thorondor, who, keeps, him informed on everything. So now Turgon has a dilemma. He knows that
no.
Gondolin is strong and could probably help, but he didn't want to give up their secret position just yet.
Okay.
So he wants to find a way to help. So, in secret, he sends companies of his own men out of Gondolin to the coast. They build ships and set sail for Valinor in hopes of begging forgiveness from the Valar and asking for their help. They even ask birds to help guide their way.
Oh, cute.
Quote, "But the seas were wild and wide, and shadow and enchantment lay upon them, and Valinor was hidden. Therefore, none of the messengers of Turgon came into the west being Valinor, and many were lost and few returned."
Sad.
So, yeah, the Valar don't care.
Sad.
As for the rest of Beleriand, Morgoth has been pretty busy. He's slowly picking off the Noldor one by one, but he doesn't know where Finrod Felagund and Turgon are hiding. He had heard of Nargothrond, which is Finrod Felagund's hiding place, but he had no idea where it was or how strong it was, and he didn't know a thing about Gondolin.
Okay.
But this unknown possible force between Finrod Felagund and Turgon worried him so much that he sends more spies into Beleriand to find out what they could, and he pulls back all of his orc armies. So, although this Battle of Sudden Flame was overall a victory for him, he still has enemies out there that he's worried is going to take the victory away from him.
Yeah, he wants a flawless victory.
Exactly. So, after 7 years of replenishing his armies, Morgoth hits the Noldor in Hithlum, Fingolfin's former territory, now being defended by Galdor, the House of Hador, on behalf of King Fingon.
Okay.
Now, Galdor is the father we were just talking about. He is Hurin and Huor's dad. And this battle is pretty rough. And in the battle, Galdor was killed by an arrow.
Oh no.
So Galdor's dead. Galdor's father had only recently died. And now the new Lord of the House of Hador was Hurin, who had only recently, quote, come to manhood. So it doesn't say how old he is, but 16, 17, yeah. But luckily, Hurin was pretty strong and smart, and he managed to push the orcs back.
Okay, I think that maybe he learned some things while he was in Gondolin.
Exactly. That's why I like that they mentioned that he was kind of taking notes from Turgon on how to be a king, how to be a leader. Yeah. So now King Fingon was fighting nearby, and he was having a really hard time holding back the orcs because they're attacking from their main stronghold in Angband. And Fingon is completely outnumbered. Things are about to go down for Fingon. But at the very hour of their need, the Falas, the coastal elves of Círdan, sailed up from the coast, and with their combined forces, the orc army broke and fled.
They did it!
They did it! So, with this battle now over, Hurin, now the Lord of the House of Hador, is now the official server of King Fingon.
So he's like a little baby king, a little baby
Yes.
lord.
Yes. Now, Huron is described as being, quote, less in stature than his fathers, tireless and enduring in body, lithe and swift after the manner of his mother's kin. Because remember, his father was of the house of Hodor, which is the kind of Rohan Viking
Uh-huh.
people. But his
Uh-huh.
mother was of the Halidin, who were the kind of forest people.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
interesting combination. And Horan's wife,
He's probably
we,
real handsome.
oh yeah, he, Horan's wife was named Morwen, and she was actually of the house of Beor. So we have all three houses combined in this marriage.
Okay.
And Morwen was actually among the many women who had to flee Dorthonion with Emildir. Remember, she was the man-hearted. She was the wife of Barahir.
Okay.
So she actually, Emildir, taking these women and fleeing, had some pretty important women with her. So she has Morwen, Horan's wife, and
Okay.
she has Rion. Now, Rion would eventually marry Horan's brother, Hur. And they have a son
Okay.
that we haven't met yet, but
I'm pulling out my book. Characters you need to remember for
yeah.
later.
Well,
Okay,
I'm
I'm
not
ready.
telling you his name yet
Ah,
because
dang it.
but remember when I told you that I already knew someone was going to be the Thor?
Mm. Of
He's
the
going to be the
Avengers.
Thor. Yes, he is
Amazing.
the Thor.
The
So,
Elfengers. No, the
yes.
Middle
Yeah?
Earth
Yeah,
Avengers.
because he's a man, technically. Yeah. Middle Earth Avengers. Yeah. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So we have Emildir the Man-Hearted, who is the mother of Baron, who is very important later, and
Okay.
Rion, who is the mother of our future Thor.
Okay.
Now, at this time, we learn that the remaining men of the House of Beor, the ones known as the Outlaws, it is confirmed that they were all sadly killed,
Oh no.
except for one.
The sad
And
one?
no,
Dang it.
this,
About to get killed. He's like, finally, jeez.
look, yeah, figures.
Yeah, yeah, my luck.
So the
Okay.
one outlaw who escapes is Barahir
Okay.
and Emildir's son, Baron. He barely manages to escape into Doriath, which is Thingol's territory. Now, this
Okay.
is the start of arguably the most legendary story of all of Tolkien's works. Baron is
Okay.
very important and very cool. And we will learn all about him next week.
Oh, I knew you were gonna do that. Darn it.
Yes. Well, I'm about
You
to start
got
a
me.
new story.
You got me. Well, now I'm excited. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah,
Until
lots
next
been
time.
happening.
To
So
be
much.
continued.
Yes.
Wow. I'm glad, like, I know the other parts of the story are important to, like, build up to get to where we are, but I'm kind of glad that we're back onto, like, the main plot, I guess. Like, the more,
Yeah.
like, defeating Morgoth kind of situation.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah. Brace yourself for next week. I don't know how many
okay.
parts it's going to be. It might be two. We'll see. It's a pretty long chapter. But,
Okay. Well, you know what? Stretch it out as much as you need to get every little morsel of goodness out of that awesome
oh,
story, you know?
I will. Yeah, it's like 30 pages long.
Mm.
Some juicy
Um,
stuff in there.
well, thank you for teaching me today.
You're welcome. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram at Sisters of the Shire Podcast.
Yes, and we
And
apologize again for our technology mishaps today. Hopefully, it will be
hope,
not so choppy when editing
hopefully you won't even
comes.
notice it
But
and you'll be like, what are you
yeah,
talking about? My editing
yeah,
skills were just flawless.
yes,
Make sure to rate and review
yes,
on the platform you listen.
And like we say before, if you have and art can mean like any medium. Like we had a friend that Ashley kind of did a quick podcast with that she does um, Tolkien inspired crocheted figures. Like I wouldn't say dolls, but they're kind of
Dolls.
like dolls, but um,
Yeah.
like stuff like that we'd be more than happy to like promote you on like our Instagram stories and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And vice versa. If you want to promote us, we would love that too. If you guys talk to us on Instagram, we will most likely talk back. We like to keep the conversation going. We're very easy to talk to. Be nice, you know. We're just two humans trying to live
And be
life.
nice to others, too.
Yes. You can ask us any questions or we love anything, comments on anything.
Feedback.
Yeah,
We have
feedback.
questions. If you're on Spotify, we have questions that sometimes accompany the episode. Not, no one has ever responded, but if you ever want to respond, I sometimes put questions up there like, "Hey, how do you think we're doing?" or "What do you think of the Rings of Power show?" or "Which episode's your
Do you
favorite?" You
think
know,
Ashley needs to sing more on
I
the
would be happy to do or more impressions or
yeah.
are we
Oh,
Are
do
we
we need to
riffing
work
too
on our
much? Do you want
accents?
more? Do you want more information and less talking? Do you want more talking? Just we're open to feedback, constructive criticism, but please be nice. We're
Yes.
sensitive.
Yes. I'm very sensitive. And again, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving break and we're officially now in my favorite time of year, the holly jolly season. There's spooky season, and now it's the holly jolly season.
Yes.
Keep warm if you guys are in that part of the world where winter is freezing. Hope germs stay out of your guys' homes. Thanks for hanging out with us today. And we'll have a really fun, exciting episode for you next time because Ashley left us on a cliffhanger.
I
But
did. Who is Baron? What is he? What will he do?
yes. Oh, really fast, my elvish word of the day,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we've missed one. So you were talking about the eagles and the like
Mm-hmm.
birds. What's the name of the like main eagle?
Thorondor.
The rondor. So in Quenya and Sindarin, Thoron, Thoron, is
Mm-hmm.
eagle.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just named like eagle, like a fancier name for the word eagle.
It's like people
But
naming their dog dog.
yeah, yeah, or kitty, you know.
Yeah.
But there is a more poetic name for it, I guess is how they're saying it, is or Iorwath,
Just rolls
which
off the
is
tongue.
Ioroth.
Okay.
Ioroth. I wanted to find the name for eagle because the eagles have been playing a bigger part in this last two episodes of having um,
Mm-hmm.
more playtime, I guess, in the story. So the Quenya and Sindarin word for eagle is Thoron.
Thoron.
Thoron, which is pretty awesome, I gotta say.
Oh yeah. Thank you
Okay,
for
well,
the Elvish word of the day. Till
so
next
welcome.
week, I've been Ashley.
And I'm Abby, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye.
Bye.